It's my pleasure to welcome our panellists. We've got 3 volunteers who are actually prepared to give us some time today and take themselves away from their busy day jobs of running a small business and trying to make a living. I'd like you to introduce yourselves in turn, please, and just say who you are and just a few words about your particular business.
I'm David Potter, and the company I have is Ambic, and we manufacture school furniture. We started the business 30 years ago with a bag of tools and a £200 overdraft, and we've gradually built the business up now to turn over about £2 million.
And where are you based, David?
We're based in Newcastle. With an accent like this, I can't be anywhere else.
Very good. I'd like to come back to David then and really hear your story, David, because you're a long-established small business.
Yes,
you make school furniture, something that's been around for donkey's years and presumably will continue for quite a while yet, because we're not going to stop having kids going to school.
Not yet.
But you ran into trouble. I mean, but you must have had a very long-established relationship with your bank.
We had a terrific arrangement with the bank. We expanded for the first 28 years at an average of between 20 and 28% every year for 28 years. We started with some rented premises. In 1999, we rented 4 factories from the local authority, and every year we took on another factory. And by 2006, we had rented 9 factories and 13 shipping containers, and we ran short of factories to rent. We had a good order book, a terrific reputation, and cash in the bank, and support from the bank. They encouraged us to borrow more money. 5 acres of land became available on the industrial estate, so we bought the land, built a factory twice the size, doubled our manufacturing capacity. Terrific. We still had sales and orders, and along came the recession. Not a problem. We'll just restructure the business, and we'll move our sales from educational establishments to larger establishments, universities, industrial laboratories. Not a problem. We'd sorted the business out. Then along came the bank with an offer which they hoped we couldn't refuse. And their offer was that they would treble our mortgage costs and treble our overdraft costs. And if we didn't sign up for the mortgage cost, they wouldn't give us the overdraft.
What year was this?
This would be about 2008. Now, this is the peak of the recession. Now, we'd already sorted the business out. We were trading successfully. Our sales were going up again. But we owned a very valuable property, which the value of the property had gone down from what we had paid to buy it. And therefore, our opinion was that the bank wanted to force us into liquidation so they could get their hands on the property which they could hold on to for a number of years, then sell it at a profit. So we had the problem of how do we get over not having an overdraft? Because we make educational furniture, our peak manufacturing is during the summer holidays when all the schools want their furniture put in place. And we had a desperate problem. We investigated various other means of doing it, possibly of using credit cards, but along came Funding Circle, were the White Knights.
And how did you hear about Funding Circle?
This was through our external accountant, who handles our accounts, of course. We had borrowed a small amount of money from the Funding Circle previously to purchase some hardware, some software, and we asked the question as well, do you do larger loans and will you fund working capital? Because we had used all of our working capital up to fund the new building. We didn't have the working capital. And within 2 weeks, we had £100,000 in the bank, which sorted our problem.
Within 2 weeks?
In 2 weeks, we had £100,000 in the bank. The bank would have taken 3 months, 4 months to give the same answer. It was a terrific answer.
So it was an absolute lifeline at the time.
It's a lifeline. They've saved 40 people's jobs. They've saved a business from going into bankruptcy and enabled investment in the future, which will allow us to continue expansion. We're back to 10 to 12% a year.
Fantastic. Right, we'll come back, David, to your story, but that was a fascinating account of something that happened to a number of other businesses, actually, during the 2008 and 2009.
Other people haven't succeeded.
Thank goodness that you came out and got that lifeline. What's happened, David, since that joyful day when you managed to discover that you could get this line of credit from a peer-to-peer platform that saved your bacon, as it were? You say that you've since grown and expanded. What's your relationship like now with your bank, and how do you sort of use the bank still and the peer-to-peer lender in terms of your financing?
From the age of the loan from the bank, we have some very good rates, and we can't match those rates by going to another bank. So we're happy to stay with the bank that we've been with because we've got the right rates. We've paid off the hire purchase, which we bought equipment through from the bank. We now only have the mortgage to pay off, and we're paying less for the mortgage than we're paying for rent for the factory. So we're well established as far as our costs are concerned. But hidden beneath the whole thing is we have 4 years of investment. In the past, we simply make good furniture and sell it to schools because you get personal recommendation from one school to another school, and you don't have to sell your product. But unfortunately, at the present time, if you don't speak with a Geordie accent, you don't get our furniture, and we really want to go farther afield. So we've had 4 years investment, which we've allowed to do with having the funding circle cash. And we're now ready to hit the streets to be a national mail order business. Okay. And we are hoping to take the business from £2 million to £5 million sales in the next 3 to 4 years.
And what would that mean for your headcount?
The headcount would probably triple, because we have 40 people producing 2 million, and it wouldn't take as many to produce 5 million. But also the investment in the land, we bought sufficient land to extend the factory 3 times and built all the infrastructure in to assist that expansion. So the future is looking quite rosy, is that the education market is lively, and we have expanded into other marketplaces. We're looking to do exports because we now have a quality product which we can export to other parts of the world. So our future looks very bright at the present time.
What a shame George Osborne isn't here to hear this story. This is the Northern Powerhouse here in action. This is just the sort of business that he wants to see develop and grow, especially with the export side of it. Job creation in Newcastle, enterprising. It's fantastic.
I didn't do this by myself. I've got 40 great guys who work for me.
And how much have you borrowed altogether then, if you put it all? How many loans have you had from Funding Circle?
Borrowed from Funding Circle. We've had £100,000, and we borrowed another £60,000 this year.
Okay.
Because I used some of my working capital to do some investment last year, so we don't have the working capital. But I expect to go back to the Funding Circle. If we continue to expand, I need to fund the costs of the manufacturing before we get paid for it. It's very safe cash because it's with local authorities and the government.
Sure.
But it does take time to get through.
Yeah.
And the Funding Circle are terrific. It's real people lending to real people.
So you feel you've got a relationship with them now? You're not thinking of shopping around, looking at other platforms, see if they might offer you better terms?
Well, Funding Circle were one of the originators, and there's a lot of people followed in their footsteps. So, and I wouldn't go elsewhere unless Funding Circle had done something real harm. And that's how you deal with all of your suppliers. Until you have something that goes negative, don't change. And you build a relationship with everybody, because at times everybody wants a bit of help.
Sure.
And if you can pick the phone up and say, look, you owe me a favour, not in so many words, but can I have a bit of hand here? And that's how we build a business. But it also applies to the guys in the factory, that you respect what they require, what they need. And some people don't tell you what they need. You've got to read between the lines as to how you're going to support your workforce. Yeah. But they're the guys who make the cash for you.
Fantastic. Well, a satisfied customer. How bothered are you that you have got a term loan in terms of the product that you were given from Funding Circle, and comparing that with the overdraft, which would have been the alternative way to go from a bank? Is that the right question?
Yeah. Does the product structure matters to you, really? You wanted some flexibility. You mentioned your bank overdraft that was too small. I guess you got from Funding Circle actually a simple loan, right? Does it matter to you that it's not an overdraft, it's a loan?
No, because you've got the facility to pay off it whenever you want to.
Very
There's
flexible.
no strings attached. And
our loan from Funding Circle is for 6 months. We need to borrow £60,000 for 6 months, because we make our products in June, July, August, and we can't send invoices out to the schools until August, and by the time it goes through the central office, we don't get paid until November. So we borrowed £60,000 to pay wages and materials, and it's a terrific arrangement, and I'd like to go back to do that again next year, because obviously if we increase our sales, we're going to need more labour and more materials, and we can't grow the business fast enough to get our own working capital, so we have to go externally. And I'd be much happy to deal with Funding Circle or peer-to-peer lending than I would by going back to a bank. I've burnt my fingers with a bank.
Well, we are out of time. It's my fault for letting this run on a little bit, but I thought these were really fascinating case studies, so I wanted to be able to hear from our small business borrowers. Thank you all very much indeed for taking time out to come to us today.